I am utterly exhausted. 2 long weeks on the road, tied to the launch of our new international office in London, coupled with excessive travel, have drained me. But the worst part was being away from my girls, and the 16-hour journey home was pure hell, even in first class. I hated being away from my girls and my wife. I always do, but the lifestyle I've created for my family means that work can be demanding. Due to high demand, my energy company has grown and expanded into 12 countries. 5 years ago, I bought out my partner Roger's share. These 5 years have been tough but rewarding, but I'm finally ready to sit back and enjoy the success, having hired a new president to oversee operations while I remain the CEO and owner. I plan to share the good news with my girls as soon as I get home.
Welcome to the Dark Side channel. Dive into the world of human relationships, mistakes, and right decisions. Don't miss out. Subscribe and join our growing community.
I'm excited because I'll have more time with my family and friends, and I can return to a normal life. Don't get me wrong. I like how my company has grown, but deep down, my goal has always been to spend most of my time watching my girls grow and spending more time with my wife. I feel happy to finally have the opportunity to step back and enjoy the fruits of my labor at the age of 45. Over the years, membership in the country club, the new SUV Zoe wanted, private school for the girls, the 9,000-square-foot house Zoe convinced me to buy, along with all the extra amenities, were expensive but worth every penny when I saw their smiling faces and felt their warm hugs. My life may have been hectic, but it has always been full of love and warmth. I wouldn't change a thing, and now I eagerly await the next chapter of my life with my family. 30 minutes away from home, as my driver navigated through traffic, I sat in the back of the limo, relaxed, and enjoyed a second glass of bourbon poured from the sidebar after we left the airport. As we pulled up the driveway loop, the house seemed quiet, but I knew from experience that in a few minutes my girls would be jumping on their daddy, and their mommy would greet me with a warm kiss and a promise of a wonderful night with her in my arms. To my horror, I entered an empty house. The only sound was the driver placing my bags in the foyer. I called out for them. No answer. It was odd. The girls were always home when I returned from a trip. I hoped everything was okay. Then I saw an envelope with my name, written in her lovely handwriting. To Jonathan from his loving wife Zoe. After the driver left, I took my bags to the room, changed out of my suit into comfortable sweatpants, and then headed to the bar for a new glass of rare 10-year-old bourbon. Anticipating a loving message from my wife, I settled into my favorite chair and took a big sip of the expensive elixir, relishing the burn before opening the envelope. Jonathan, my love, what an amazing journey we've had as husband and wife. I've cherished every minute of the last 16 years and look forward to the next 50 we'll spend together as your loving wife. Darling, you know how much I love you, and you're my entire world. You're my everything, and I can't imagine life without you. The love you give me is all I want, and I yearn to be in your arms every day. I've missed you so much these past 2 weeks, and I can't wait to see you later tonight. These words warmed my heart even more than the bourbon warmed my stomach. I'm lucky she became my wife. Have I told you recently that your sweet, tender lovemaking sends shivers down my spine every time I think of you? Do you remember me telling you shortly before your departure on this last trip that I'm madly in love with you and want to be with you always? Every time I look at our girls, I see how much they respect and love you because you're the best father any child could dream of. They love you just as much as I do, and we're all happy to have you in our lives. Oh my, I always cry when I think about my 2 girls. I love them more than all my possessions combined, and I can't wait to hug and kiss them again. I've never told you this, but all my friends envy our relationship and how tenderly we still treat each other, even after all these 16 years of marriage. They all know how deeply we love each other and wish they had the same in their own lives. There are a few reasons for this letter, darling. Firstly, I want to thank you for being you, for giving me the most wonderful 16 years of my life, for being an amazing father to our children, for the wonderful lifestyle you've allowed us to experience, and most importantly, for all the love you constantly pour onto me. The other reason is something that I feel I need to share. It's been weighing on me for the past 6 months. It's something I never expected, and unfortunately, it's become a significant part of my life. Doesn't sound very good. I'm not sure if I should read further, and definitely shouldn't until I refill my glass to calm my nerves. It must be due to the time zone change, Zoe and the girls. My life. I can't believe I had such thoughts. Perhaps she joined a new club or picked up an expensive hobby. Let's see what she needs to share. Everything you just read is true, and every word I say comes from the bottom of my heart. So what I'm about to tell you is the hardest thing I've ever done. As much as I love you and will never stop loving you, I have to confess something. I pray you understand and don't become disappointed in me or leave me because of this. For the past 6 months I've had an affair. I really shouldn't call him a lover because he's more of a partner. I have no feelings or love for this man, but we're involved intimately. What the hell? Zoe cheating on me? After all the love and commitment, all the freedom, everything she ever wanted, she's breaking her vows? Our intimate life has been magnificent. How could this happen? I feel like my heart is shattering into 1,000 pieces. No, Zoe would never have an affair, would she? I trusted her with all my heart and soul. How could she destroy everything we've built together? All these years, ruined by a tasteless affair? She can't be this foolish. The reason I'm telling you this now is out of respect and deep guilt. I can't live with this guilt anymore, and I need you to know that I've been unfaithful, but only in a sexual sense. You'll never understand this, but I don't feel love for him, just an attraction I can't explain. He does things to me that I can't put into words, and no matter how hard I try, I can't stop. He's become my addiction, and I need him in my life. I'm sure you have many questions, and I'll be completely honest. I respect you too much to lie or cause you pain in any way, but I fear this confession has probably caused you some pain, so I can only hope that you can understand what I need. You've done more than just caused pain. Full honesty, you've already lied to me. How can I trust you again? What have you done, Zoe? Please believe that I've done everything possible to keep this from you and not let it affect our life. And if you look back, I think you'll agree that you haven't seen any difference in our relationship, and I know we've both been happy. Nothing has changed between us since this started, but I realize it can't end soon, so it's only fair that you know all about it. No secrets, babe. I love and respect you too much to ever do this. Please understand that my need for him is purely physical, and I won't let my time with him interfere with our love or intimacy. I just needed to let you know that there's another part of me that I've given to another man, but this part of me has nothing to do with my love for you and the importance of our family. Family is the most important part of my life and my #1 priority. Nothing will change that. I know reading this will be shocking and it's painful to hear, but I know the kind of person you are and how much you love me. Realizing this gave me the confidence and courage to confess my infidelity because deep down, I know you'll understand my needs and forgive me. Your patience and understanding are just 2 of the many things I love about you, darling. If you knew what type of man I'm dealing with, you'd never treat me and the girls like this. You've underestimated me greatly and just ended our marriage. You can forget about any forgiveness. No, the only thing you'll get from me is revenge. Our girls are staying the night at your mom's, so don't worry about them, and they can't wait to see their daddy in the morning. Tonight, I'm with my friend because I wanted to give you some time alone to read my letter and understand how things will go from here. I'll be home around 10 p.m. and we can pick up where we left off as if nothing has changed, because nothing has changed, my love. Today I love you just as much as yesterday, and after we reunite tonight, I know I'll love you even more, if that's even possible. I'll be all yours as soon as I return home, and you can once again enjoy sweet lovemaking with your loving wife. Just remember as you read this that you're the love of my life, and I'm yours until death do us part. I'm yours, babe, and I'll give you everything you want or need. Thank you for being you and the best husband a girl could ever dream of. Love always and forever, your devoted wife, Zoe. Jonathan. Finishing the letter, I realized the bourbon glass I was drinking from was now part of the adjacent wall. I didn't remember even tossing the glass, let alone throwing it with such force that several shards actually embedded into the wall. Apparently, my subconscious took over and brought me to a higher level of understanding. The ability to make quick decisions is what led me to success in business, and now I was acting out of habit. I grabbed a sheet of paper and wrote a response letter, sealed the envelope with her name clearly written on the front, and placed it on the table next to the envelope addressed to me. I put her letter in my pocket, gathered some luggage, and headed upstairs to the girls' room to pack clothes for a few days, as we were about to embark on a short trip. In the car, I called my handler and instructed him to prepare the corporate jet for a trip to San Francisco, where I planned to stay with my girls for the foreseeable future. By 6:30 that evening, I was in my car on the way to my parents' house to pick up the girls. I have a corporate apartment near my California office where I already kept a full set of clothes and everything necessary for an extended stay. The apartment would be the perfect place until I speak with my lawyers and plan my immediate future. As I pulled up to my parents' house, the girls ran out to greet me with wide smiles on their faces and 100 kisses. They were thrilled to see me, and I felt myself smile for the first time since coming home. "Daddy! Daddy's home. We missed you, Daddy, and we didn't think we'd see you until tomorrow. Mom said you weren't coming back until tomorrow. Tonight, she was supposed to meet her friend Jamie, and we came here to see Grandma and Grandpa." I hugged, kissed them, and felt tears stream down my face from all this love and the realization that their lives were about to change because of their mother's infidelity. Their warm embraces truly soothed my soul, and in that moment, all my problems ceased to exist. The name Jamie didn't escape my notice, and I filed it away in my memory bank for later. After the girls calmed down, I told them I had a surprise and that we were going on a trip for a few days, and they were going to fly on the company's plane. I promised them fun and exciting vacations. Convincing the girls was the easiest part. Explaining things to Mom and Dad, that was a whole other story. They clearly sensed my pain and objected to me taking the girls until I let them read the letter. I explained that I needed some time to get to a safe place to think everything through and plan without letting emotions get in the way. Then I explained that I left a letter for Zoe and would call her from the plane. Finally, I promised that I would be back within 2 weeks and that it was just a short trip, and they shouldn't worry about the girls as they would be well taken care of. On the way to the private terminal, I called my new president and told him I would be in the California office and that he should handle things independently and only contact me in emergencies. "William, the reins of leadership are in your hands for the next few weeks. Let's see how you fare without my advice. I'm confident you'll do fine, and the staff will be glad to assist you. I need some time to address a personal matter, so contact me only in case of extreme necessity. You'll excel in your work, and I know my company is in reliable hands. Make me proud, William." "Don't worry, Mr. King. I'll handle everything and all will be well. Call me for daily updates if you want. I know how difficult it can be to entrust your child to someone else's care. Let me know if you need anything while you're away." As we boarded the plane, the girls ran back and forth along the aisle of the 16-seat passenger plane, playing with the stewardess, who adored them. Jessica was one of our regular attendants, and over the past 2 years, we had become good friends. Hours spent alone on flights can foster friendships with the right people. It was 11 o'clock, and the girls were asleep. The cabin lights were dimmed, and the atmosphere was calm and relaxing. It was then that I dialed the home number to talk to Zoe. "Jonathan, where are you, darling?" "Zoe, listen carefully and don't interrupt because I might lose signal at this altitude. I already know you've read my letter and know the girls are with me. They'll call you in the morning. I'll call you in the next few days to discuss everything. Call my mom and dad if you need anything in the meantime. Good night." I hung up before she could respond. The flight went smoothly, and we landed at 1 in the morning. I took the girls to the waiting limousine, and then, sometime later, made my way home. I tucked them into bed, kissed them goodnight, and within 10 minutes, I collapsed into bed myself without even unpacking. We'll have plenty of time for that tomorrow. Zoe's story upon returning home. I can't wait to see my wonderful husband. I long for his touch. These 2 weeks without him have dragged on so slowly. Tonight, I'll be his perfect wife and turn his world upside down. My favorite part of his business trips is always his first night back home. His desire and love for me are astonishing. Entering the house, I noticed the lights were off. I bet he's tired from his long trip. Darling, I'm home. Maybe he's in bed. I'll check. He's not there, and he's not answering his phone, and there are no missed calls or texts, which is strange. Let me check the backyard. Maybe he's relaxing outside. On the way to the backyard, I noticed an envelope on the table, and suddenly I had a bad feeling. It was addressed to me, right next to the one I left for him earlier. I picked it up slowly, and then nervously opened the envelope. I wasn't sure what to expect, but before I could even read his letter, my cell phone rang. It seemed loud in the silence. One look at the screen showed it was Jonathan, and I quickly answered his call. I barely got a chance to say hello before Jonathan ordered me to listen without interrupting. He used what I called his business voice, commanding and impersonal. I listened, and with each word, I heard more pain in his voice. I wanted to interrupt and tell him I loved him, but I decided to wait until he finished. I regretted that decision because he hung up. I knew that wasn't good. Clearly, things were not going as I had expected. For a moment or two, it felt like I was frozen in time. I just stood there with the phone in one hand and the letter he referred to in the other. Then suddenly, my heart raced again and I jerked, dropping the phone. It hit the tiled floor with a thud, but I paid it no mind and focused on the letter. My hands shook, and I could barely make out Jonathan's words through the tears streaming down my face. Dear Zoe, thank you for your letter and honesty. Yes, our 16 years together have been the happiest years of my life. You gave me 2 special girls whom I love with all my heart. The love we shared was unique, and I'm not surprised to hear that our friends envy our love and closeness because you have always been the most important person in my life. I was planning to surprise you tonight and tell you about some changes I made at work that would give me much more time to be with you and the girls, but I was the one who got the big surprise coming home to an empty house. All I thought about on my trip home was hugging and kissing my girls and the romantic embrace of my amazing wife, but for the first time in all these years of traveling, I returned to an empty house. It was a long, grueling trip, and I just wanted to come home and relax with you tonight. But, unfortunately, I'm sitting here alone in our big empty house, a broken man. I was disappointed and saddened until I saw the envelope addressed to me on the table. I hoped there would be some surprise from you and the girls in the letter and that you would all be coming home soon. But the letter contained something entirely different than what I expected. Yes, I loved you with all my heart, and as you wrote in your letter, I was madly in love with you and wanted to spend the rest of my life with you and our daughters, and perhaps in the future, with our grandchildren. From your letter, I understand that you may have overestimated my understanding and forgiveness. As soon as I read your confession about your 6-month affair, you ended our marriage. Actually, the moment you showed any closeness to your lover, it ended us as a married couple. Or I should say I simply didn't realize it until I read your letter. Tears start streaming from her eyes as she realizes she may have ended their marriage. No, God, no, please, no. This can't be. Jonathan must have understood. Now Zoe is on her knees crying, covering her face with her hands, realizing for the first time that she might have made a huge mistake. I'm sorry it has to come to this, but I won't understand or accept your need for another man. I'm glad you found someone who will meet your needs and your special bond, but because of your infidelity, you gave up your right to be my wife and the mother of my children. The girls are with me, and next week we're heading to my office in San Francisco. I need time away from you and our home to process your confession and your actions. You can call the girls tomorrow during the day since we won't land until 1 in the morning, and they'll be tired from our trip. I need to be with my girls right now because they're the only thing keeping me sane. As you know, they're in good hands, so you don't have to worry. Now you'll have plenty of free time to be with your lover while I sort everything out. We have no reason to talk, so please don't call or text, as I won't answer your calls. Please call the girls and video chat with them as often as you like. I won't interfere with you seeing them and won't let them know that their mother traded their dad for another man. I'll let you do that when the time comes. He has to answer my call. He loves me. I have to make him understand that I only want him. I'll tell him it's all over. I know he'll forgive me. Why isn't he picking up the phone? Damn it, Jonathan. Please talk to me. He has to talk to me before he does something stupid. I know him, and I need to talk to him quickly and explain everything better. Your affair caused me unimaginable pain, and I'm baffled that you could think I'd accept it and allow you to have an affair and break your wedding vows. You shattered my entire world with this one letter, and it will take me a long time to forget about the love I lost. I went from the happiest man in the world, who had a plan to bring us all even closer, to a broken, defeated man in a matter of minutes. The woman I loved turned me into an unwitting cuckold. She humiliated me in a way I couldn't have imagined in my wildest nightmares, and expected me to take her back. I'm sad, and I just want to cry, but you know me, and I won't dwell on the past. I'll let you know when we're back. Zoe's story. Tears streaming uncontrollably, I sat, utterly shaken and devastated. Oh God, no, he can't do this. He can't leave me. This is all wrong, and this isn't how he was supposed to react. He always told me he loved me and wanted me to be happy. How can he be so distraught? I need to explain this better. Obviously, he didn't understand what I wrote and took it all the wrong way. I need to call Jamie. He'll know what to do. Hey, Jamie, it's me. He left me and took the girls. What do I do? He was supposed to talk to me and understand that our relationship meant nothing. He said he's leaving me, and I don't know what to do, I said, crying into the phone. Zoe, stop crying. He's upset, but he'll come around in a few days. It doesn't mean you're leaving him or seeing me. It's just a few hours of intimacy we share when he's at work. He won't want to leave you because of this. He'll also think about the cost of leaving you, and that'll help him understand he needs to accept the new norm. Did you tell him how much you love him? Yes, of course. I explained everything in the letter and meant every word. He's the most important person in my life, and I'll die without him. How can he be so selfish and not understand? I needed him to be happy for me. What can I do here? It hurts so much. Just get some rest and try calling him tomorrow, after he's had some time to digest what happened and how things will proceed. I'll be home tomorrow by noon. Why don't you come over then and we can talk about this? Get some sleep, Zoe. I hardly slept that night, and the next morning, shortly after noon, I finally tried calling Jonathan, but it rang once and then disconnected. That meant he blocked my number. Now I had no way of reaching him. I'll call the girls, and they'll pass the phone to their father. Cassie answered the call and was glad to hear from me, which lifted my spirits. Hi, Mom. Hi, sweetie. Is your dad there? I need to talk to him. Mom, Dad said he doesn't want to talk to you and won't pick up if you call. What's going on, Mom? Dad seems really upset and different. It's nothing, sweetheart. Moms and dads sometimes argue. Your dad misunderstood something I did, got angry, and left. I need to explain this so he won't get angrier. I'll ask him to talk to you again, Mom. Just wait. I heard her talking to him, and I didn't like his response. Mom, he said he'll call you when he's ready to talk. Will you be okay, Mom? Yes, don't worry, sweetheart. Everything will be fine with your dad and me. Just behave well and give your dad a kiss for me and pass the phone to your sister. Jonathan's story. 13-year-old Jennifer and 15-year-old Cassie looked at me with curiosity after the call. Cassie, being the elder one, had a somber look. Mom cheated on you, Daddy? My heart shattered hearing her question. Holding back tears, I simply shook my head and told them to get ready for lunch. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but I knew with love and support, they'd cope with what was coming. Earlier that morning, before the girls got up, I called our family attorney, who was on the East Coast and already at his desk. I've known George for 20 years, and we've been through a lot together. So I told him the story without preamble and what I wanted to happen. George, I need to know what the divorce will look like and how bad it'll be. I want custody of the kids, whatever it takes. No reconciliation, no counseling, no forgiveness. I want this over as fast as possible. There was a long moment of silence on the other end. I understood and gave him time to digest the news. He was probably as surprised by my words as I was when I read Zoe's letter. Jonathan, I'm so sorry this happened. Kate and I always thought you two were the perfect couple, and I can't understand how she could do this. But I understand what you're asking. Remember when you and Roger started the company, and he insisted on a prenup before agreeing to go into business with you? Remember how adamant he was because of what happened with his last business, and how his wife cheated on him? Well, your prenup is drawn up and valid, and if she indeed has a romance, she's forfeiting her rights to the kids and any financial benefit from the marriage. For years, as your company grew, I maintained premarital relations, worked with your corporate attorneys, and placed much of your property into trust. And you were a benefactor. The house, cars, bank accounts, and investments, they all fall under this trust, untouchable. This means if she's breached the prenup, she's exiting the marriage with what she came into it with and loses any rights to the children. I know we didn't set this all up for this purpose, but it seems it'll all work in your favor. George, you're right. I would never have thought in a million years that she'd cheat on me, and I completely forgot about the prenup. But George, all I have is this letter admitting her infidelity. What else do we need? Well, a confession from her on video or tape would help, along with some photos or a confession from her lover. George, can you take care of this while I'm here in California with the girls? Money's no object, and I want to get the evidence as soon as possible. I don't want this dragging on. There's a name my girls mentioned, a guy named Jamie. The only Jamie I know is the tennis instructor at our country club. Can you arrange for a private investigator to start with that? I'm sure she'll contact her lover while I'm away. Report, of course, Jamie, the tennis instructor, turned out to be my sworn enemy. They were careless, which made it easy for the private firm to wrap up the investigation. With my consent, they placed a tracker on Zoe's car, audio devices inside the car, and video cameras in our home. All evidence obtained from these devices was legal, thanks to my company's control over them through the trust. Within the next week, they had enough audio and video recordings, along with her written confession, to move the case forward. I never watched or listened to any of the evidence, as I didn't want those images haunting me for the rest of my life. Of course, Jamie turned out to be a womanizer, and he had to leave his last 2 jobs because he slept with other married women. He was much younger, in great shape, and all the ladies at the club were smitten with him. Zoe was just one of many women he had affairs with at the club. Obviously, middle-aged married women were easy prey for this club professional. George called me 5 days after our initial conversation to update me on the progress of the investigation. Jonathan, we have all the evidence we need. What do you want us to do? Are you still going ahead with divorcing Zoe? Without hesitation, I replied, draw up the divorce papers with the utmost care. I want Zoe to feel some of the pain she caused me and realize how badly she screwed up. I'd like them filed on Tuesday at 10 a.m. at our country club. She has a tennis lesson with Jamie every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Can we arrange something for him too? I don't care what it is, even if it's just a nuisance suit. Come up with something, because I want his name mentioned in the suit. We can arrange that, and I'll work on the professional tennis angle and get back to you. Perhaps we can get the club to hire a well-known predator. Probably ain't gonna lead anywhere, but everyone will know about this affair, which I guess is what you want. When are you coming back? I plan to be home and wait for her after she's notified on Tuesday. I'll make sure to be home before she gets back. You sure about divorcing her, Jonathan? As we speak, definitely. But I need to think about the girls and talk to her before signing any papers. It's tough, George, and I hope you never have to go through something like this. I loved this woman with all my heart, and I just can't stop loving her. I also hate what she did to me and the girls, and I'll never forgive her for it. Whatever you decide, I'm here to help, Jonathan. Stay in touch, and we'll let you know as soon as she's notified. We got home Tuesday morning around 9 a.m., and the girls were happy to be back home. I told them that after their mom returns from her tennis lesson, I'd like them to stay in their rooms while we sort things out with their mom. I could tell they were upset and worried, and I did my best to reassure them that everything would be okay. Tuesday. Zoe's story. It was a warm summer day, and the tennis dress I wore was short. It showcased my toned legs, and Jamie smiled seeing his attractive mistress walk into his office. After exchanging warm hugs and about to start the lesson, a girl in short cut-off jeans and a cropped shirt bounced onto the court. "Hey, can we help you with something?" Jamie asked, smiling at the cute girl. "Yeah, are you Jamie Connors?" "That's me. Who are you?" "Well, today I'm your worst nightmare." "You've been served," she said, handing him an envelope. He opened it as I came over to see what it was. He looked at it and said, "Damn, I'm named in a lawsuit against the club for harassment. What the hell? Who did this?" The young girl was still standing next to Jamie when she asked me, "Excuse me, miss, are you Zoe King?" "Yes," I replied, surprised. "This is for you. You've been served." When I saw the divorce papers, I dropped to my knees and cried. "This can't be. He's divorcing me. He didn't even give me a chance to explain. How could he do this to me after all these years? Oh my God, he knows how much I love him, so why would he do this?" As I knelt on the hard clay court, crying, I felt the curious glances of the other participants. This is awful. I can only imagine what they're thinking. How could this all go so wrong? I could tell Jamie was angry as he paced back and forth on the court, glaring at the legal documents. When he looked at me, he said, "Zoe, you need to go home, and I need to go to the club to see if they've been served properly. I need to sort this out, and you need to go home and talk to your husband. Let's see if you can stop him from ruining our lives. Please, just go." Wiping tears from my cheeks, I stood up, ran to my car, and tried to control my emotions. But as soon as I was inside and away from prying eyes, the tears came back, and I cried uncontrollably. I drove back home, frightened and upset. When I got there, the girls ran out to greet me, momentarily distracting me from my own troubles. "Where's Dad?" "He's inside." I rushed into the house, and the moment I saw him, I tried to throw myself into his arms. All I wanted to do was hug him and tell him how much I loved him, but he didn't want anything to do with me. He held out his hand, preventing me from getting closer. His rejection tore me apart, and for the second time in the last hour, I fell to my knees as the tears returned. "Darling, please don't do this. You know how much I love you and I need you. I've missed you so much. Please don't push me away. Zoe, I see you have divorce papers. We're no longer a couple and will soon be divorced. You should have known it was over the moment you shared yourself with Jamie. Zoe, I don't share. It's all up to you. So please, be an adult and take responsibility for your actions. If you've read the divorce agreement, you already know you'll need to move out and find a place to live. The girls will stay with me, and you'll have unrestricted visitation rights unless you anger me. The moment I read your letter and learned how deceitful you were, I took decisive action. Since you violated the prenuptial agreement you signed before we got married, you've waived your rights to the children and any financial support. Jonathan, you did all this without even giving me a chance to explain, and it's not fair. Obviously, I didn't explain it right in the letter, and I'm so sorry about that, but please give me a chance." "All right. Go ahead and explain so I can understand what you've done." "Darling, in the letter, I wanted you to know how much I love you and would never leave you. You and the girls mean more to me than anything else in the world, and I would never do anything to hurt any of you. I wanted you to know that I'm ready to die for you and want to be with you for the rest of my life. Your love for me is amazing, and I appreciate you more than you can ever imagine. So you can't just kick me out and divorce me. You have to understand it was just something physical that I needed. You've always given me everything I wanted or needed, so why should this be any different? Well, I truly understand that you believe you love me and want us to stay together. You say you would never do anything to hurt me, and yet you brought another man into our marriage. How could that do anything but hurt me? There's no room for a third party in my marriage. I'm absolutely intolerant of infidelity, and that's what you did. You became an unfaithful wife, committed adultery against me and our marriage. You violated our wedding vows, our marriage contract, and humiliated me and your children, and for that I'll never forgive you. You chose to sleep with a man outside our marriage, and you'll face the consequences for that. There are always consequences to our choices, and I believe this time you made a bad one. Why won't you believe me? I don't love him. You're the man I love. Can't you understand that? Why are you being like this? I shouted at him in desperation. His expression didn't change, so I repeated to myself, I love you, not him. What the hell is wrong with you, Zoe? You made me a cuckold and humiliated me. That's not love. It's contempt. You've forsaken your marriage and children for a man who's a known womanizer and who's currently sleeping with Barbara Weiss, Chloe Thomas, and 2 other women at the club. You're foolish. Did you really think you were his only girl? Furthermore, did you even consider your future after he dumps you in a few months? Everyone will know you as a cheating beach. At your age, you're no longer suitable for marriage. I see a long, lonely future ahead for you, Zoe. You really didn't think this through. Maybe someday you'll realize what you've done and what life you've chosen. And now you need to leave. I'll ask my driver to take you wherever you want, but you're no longer welcome in my home. You want me to just leave? This is my home too. I want to stay here, darling. I'll stop seeing him. It was a mistake. We can just forget about it and go back to how things were if you just give me a chance. But please don't kick me out. Well, this isn't your home. The house is held in trust and you're not part of it. The car is also part of the trust, and it stays here too. You have $3,000 in your current account, which is what you had when we got married and nothing more. And no, we can't go back to how things were. I'll never touch you again after you defiled yourself with that jerk. Part of the divorce agreement requires you to revert to your maiden name and never use mine again. You'll have unrestricted access to the girls, but they'll live here with me. You gave up everything the moment you started with your boy toy. How's that working out for you now, Zoe? Was that special chemistry and satisfaction worth losing everything over? I hope the realization of what you've lost keeps you up every night, and that the pain you've caused me stays with you for years. Yes, I loved you more than life itself, but I won't live with a cheating wife. You can spin your story however you like, but the fact remains you brought a lover into our marriage, and that was the end of our 16 wonderful years. Zoe, still lying on the floor, felt crushed. Her world was crumbling around her, and until this moment, she had always gotten everything she wanted and never expected Jonathan to react the way he did. She truly thought he would understand and support her in this brief affair if it made her happy. Zoe realized she had completely misjudged her husband, followed the terrible advice of that predator Jamie, lost her family, and ruined her wonderful 16-year marriage. Jonathan looked at Zoe, holding back tears for the loss of his happy life and the love he carried in his heart. His love had turned into loss and sorrow because of her selfishness and actions. He knew the pain and sadness overwhelming him would last a long time, but he also knew there was no way back from her infidelity and contempt. Consequences. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Since Zoe was still the mother of my 2 girls, I paid for the first 3 months of a small furnished 2-bedroom apartment near our house and club. I also bought her a 3-year-old Toyota Camry so she could drive. I knew I wasn't obligated to give her anything, but I needed my kids to see their mom whenever they wanted. Yes, the Lamborghini and the lavish lifestyle were now things of the past. She gave it all up for some washed-up tennis player she'd never see again. Being the generous guy I am, I even got her a job at the country club. Yes, the country club was happy to help once I dropped my lawsuit. They agreed to get rid of Jamie and help Zoe with employment if I dropped the lawsuit. Zoe is no longer a member of the country club, but now works as a waitress there, helping her pay the bills. With no experience or qualifications for any other job, her only option was to become a waitress at the club. I'm sure she felt humiliated, going from being one of the club's prominent participants to one of their waitresses. No more expensive shopping trips or weekends with the girls. All the money she earned at the club had to go towards rent, insurance, and food. Throughout her life, she never had to worry about bills or budgets, but suddenly she found herself on her own. The realization of what she had done and what she had given up hit her like a ton of bricks. I didn't need her to admit it. I saw it on her face every time I saw her. Of course, Jamie dumped Zoe as soon as the legal process began, trying to save his own job, so she had nowhere else to go home to. The girls told me their mom cried every night because of the love and lifestyle she had given up for the sake of some selfish desires. It took all of this for her to understand what she had done and how foolish she had been to think her husband would accept her selfish wishes. I was saddened by how everything turned out, and I told the girls that I still loved their mom and that they should love and forgive her. They remained close and saw their mom on weekends. Later that same year, when she came to pick up the girls, we had our first friendly conversation. She told me that she finally realized what she had done and begged me to forgive her for her actions. "Jonathan, I know we won't be together anymore, and you'll never be able to trust me again, but I wanted to apologize and beg for your forgiveness. Now I understand what I've done and how much pain I've caused you. My life was completely different, and I was a spoiled woman who didn't care about the world. Back then, I felt entitled and justified in my actions and didn't even think about how you would react. Now I know what I've done and what I've put you through, and I'm so sorry. If there was a way to turn back time, I would do it in a heartbeat. Losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me, and I miss you and your love so much that it hurts. I've grown up a lot in the past year, and when I look back, I can't believe how foolish I was and how I threw it all away because of my selfish, self-righteous attitude. I'm so sorry I messed everything up, and I beg you to find it in your heart to forgive me. I'll always love you, Jonathan, and I want you to know that you were the perfect husband." Her confession was genuine, and I knew that with time, perhaps, I could forgive her. I would never stop loving her. She had been my life, and I had loved her for so many years. Such love couldn't just be turned off. Zoe was still a beautiful woman, and I was sure it wouldn't be long before someone took her home and she started a new life. I hoped she had learned her lesson and would remain faithful when that happened. They fired Jamie from the club, and eventually he moved to South Carolina, where a small club in Hilton Head hired him as an assistant to a professional tennis player. It took him just a month before he returned to his old tricks and started pursuing married women again. However, the boys in South Carolina were a little less forgiving than in the big city. When he was caught with the wife of one of the good guys, it didn't end well. A month later, the local newspaper reported an alligator attack on the golf course over the weekend, and the photos showed a hand in the mouth of one of the 5-meter alligators. Poor Jamie must have gone for a run by the lake and accidentally got caught by one of these alligators. Finally, Jamie stopped being a predator and became prey. During one of my lonely nights, as I reminisced about our happy family times, I read a passage that made me think, a man's biggest mistake is giving another man the opportunity to make his woman smile. I will never make that mistake again.